Hi Jerome, my name is Claudia. I'm the speech pathologist for TAN. I thought this might be the best, most effective way to help facilitate your practice with TAN. And hi TAN if you're watching as well, so that you can then refer back to this video and see exactly what we're doing. Obviously TAN has a very strong accent. The Vietnamese accent is very, very different from the Australian accent. They have a very different sound system. So there are quite a lot of things that we've been working on. But what we've started on is the consonant sounds, right? So one of the big things that TAN does or naturally does, but is certainly improving on, and hopefully you're noticing this improvement, is that he drops off. Let's just talk about what he naturally did prior to the sessions, is that he drops off his final sounds. So he would say got as opposed to God, or the Lord as opposed to the Lord, okay? So we've been working on really teaching him to include all these final sounds. That is incredibly important for his clarity. So it's not just the d and t. So often we've got what's called popping sounds. So popping sounds are like a p or a k or a g or a t or a d. Those are particularly hard for people from Vietnam, as well as other sounds, of course. But what we need to make sure is that TAN is actually producing those. So his tongue is not just going into that position. So for example, if the word was work, he's not just saying, I'm going to what? He's saying, I'm going to work. I'm going to work. Now, Tan just said to me before that somebody said that they feel like he's exaggerating that final sound now. But what he said, which was spot on, is it's much better, and this is what I very much believe, much better at this point to be including those sounds. And if it's a little bit exaggerated, that's okay. That's not a problem at all. It's much better for that to happen. And that will get more natural as time progresses than for him to be dropping off sounds and to say, our God, we need our God, of course, the Lord. And this happens also with final sounds like an S, right? So if we say he's nice, often Tan would say he's nice. Well, we need he's nice. Or there are nine, right? Rather than there are night people, nine. So including all these final sounds. So if you can make sure that he's doing this would be a really huge help. Very, very important. Now, it's not just the final sounds like that. It's the sounds, all the sounds in his words. So the sounds before certain consonant sounds as well. So for example, often it can be very tricky for someone from Vietnam to do a s and then a t after. That's very, very hard. So to say something like first. So Tan will often say phut, right? But we need first. So that really going through all the sounds, making sure he's including all the sounds when he's speaking. So that's a st. Or past. Let's think about our past rather than our past or pat, right? Another example would be when we've got a nd. So rather than saying, this is what I found, Tan would say more like I found. So we need found, right? Including all those sounds. Nd, found. The other thing that we've been working on, so that's almost first and foremost, the most important thing, including all the final sounds and just generally all his consonant sounds when he's speaking. Okay, very, very important for Tan. The other sounds that we've been going through, so of course we've been looking at some sounds that are not in the Vietnamese dialect. So for example, they don't have a p. So when we say people, Tan would sometimes drop that off, or he would do, instead of a p, he would do a b. So he would use his voice. He knows now not to use his voice when he does a p. It's the same position with the mouth, the p and the b, but when we have a p, there is no voice. P. So we say past. Tan would previously say past, in the past, right? Which sounds like something different. So this is past, past. So we've been working on the difference between p and b. Okay, so if you can please keep an eye out for that one as well, the p and b. The other thing we've been looking at is the difference between a s sound, as in so, and show. So Tan would often say, I'm going, show, we're going to do this, or it's social, rather than so, social. Now when we're doing a s sound, the tongue is flatter, s, okay, s, and the mouth tends to be a little bit more neutral, it's wide, unless of course we're doing a vowel after, but still we have to do a s and then an o, so, rather than show. When we're doing a sh sound, the mouth is forward, so Tan needs to be reminded of the difference between a s sound, where our mouth is generally neutral and our tongue is flatter, right, in our mouth. We're still pushing air though through our teeth, and the difference between a sh sound, where the tongue is more curved like that, sh, and where the mouth is positioned forward, sh, sh. So Tan knows the difference, but just helping prompt him the difference between the s and the sh would be very, very useful. Like the s sound, we've also looked at the voiced version of the s. So the voiced version of the s is a z, okay, like a z. So I've been working on helping Tan know what a s is and a z is. So we use this z in words like, of course, zebra or zoo, but we also use it in lots of words like is. For example, he is here, or he was here. Now Tan has really improved with this. Before he used to say he what here or what, it was really tricky. So he's getting much better. But again, just watching out for his s and z. We've also looked at something that's really, really quite hard, and that's when we have a t and then a s combination. So for example, we've got words like it's, it's hot. So Tan would do is hot. So it sounds almost like an is. It's hot. It's. So what we're doing, and this is, or let's say the voiced version. So in English, we've got voiceless sounds where there's no voice. My vocal cords are not vibrating. And then we've got sounds that do have voice. Okay? So tss, tss, there's no voice. A sound is coming out, but there's no voice. Now what I'm doing is I'm going from a t, t to a s, s, s. So if you can remind him about this, again, I don't think you need to know the very, you're obviously, Jerome, not a speech pathologist. You don't need to teach him the technical aspect of it. That's what I've been doing. But if you can remind him about these sounds, he should know what to do because we've worked on it. So it's about prompting him, reminding him about these things, rather than trying to teach him what to do, if that makes sense. It's really just practice, watching out. If he says this, is hot, you would just say, it's hot, and then he'll know what to do. Because we don't want, you obviously to be, and I'm sure you wouldn't be doing this anyway, but just to also make it simpler for you, you're just practicing speaking with him, and then if he is making some mistakes, you might point out that mistake, and then he'll know what to do. So it's just through everyday conversation that you could be having with him, or he could be reading something to you, and you might just prompt him with the mistakes. But of course, I'm just telling you what we've worked on, so you can, there's no point in bringing up things like vowel sounds if we haven't worked on it yet. We'll get there. So other sounds, so I said it's, but then there's also words like, for example, words, or the Lord's. So the Lord's, let's say the sentence was the Lord's with us, the Lord's. This is a very difficult consonant cluster where we've got two consonant sounds together, z, z. At the moment, Tan is improving with it, but it's sounding like this. Does, Lord does. He needs to get smoother with that transition. The Lord's, because otherwise he was just saying the Lord or something like that. So it says ts, z. Okay, so when we've got a TS or a DS, really, at the end, God's, right? So again, just prompting if he's making mistakes, just showing him just telling him where he's making the mistake, and then he should hopefully be able to correct that. The other sounds that we've been working on are a ch sound and a j sound, which are quite tricky for him, particularly the j sound, j. Now what Tan will say is he'll say register, register. He needs to push his mouth forward for this j sound. He knows that, but to remind him. So when he says things like judge, he will normally do this, dud, dud. So the mouth has to be forward for the j sound. Judge, joke, John, John, Father John, j, j, j. Okay, it's forward and it's using our voice. Now the other thing that we've looked at today that was pretty hard for him is the final L sound. Now this might sound really quite random, but it's the final L is in words like all, we need all of you, all, or words like people or gospel. Now what Tan will say is people or gospel. This is very common for people from Vietnam and other places, China, Japan. They'll say people, gospel. What Tan also sometimes does is his final L, he replaces with an N. So he'll say, I will con you rather than call. So this final L is very hard for him. It's different to the front L, and it's made up of this, an and then a L. But what he needs to know is, again, just to prompt him, he's going to know because he's using a mirror and he's doing the activities that I'm suggesting. He needs to know to include his final L and not to round his lips to compensate. So not to do this, call, without the tongue connecting for that L. It's not just the final L, it's the L before other sounds as well. So whereas we would say help, and we're doing that L before the P, I need your help, Tan would be saying, I need your help. Right? So we're teaching him. So if you can prompt him, if he's missing out on his L before consonant sounds or at the ends of his words, that would be really great. So just to summarize the important things that I'd love you just to be able to prompt him whilst talking to him is his final sounds, absolutely, including all his final sounds, including all the sounds in his words, as I said, first, worst, including that L sound at the ends of the words, which is a bit like what I was saying about including all the final sounds, but Tan naturally doesn't have any natural, history of doing that L at the ends of the word. So it's really about teaching him what to do. And that's what I've been doing. But for you, of course, as I said, prompting him. So then there's that sh sound, the difference between the sh and the s sound. Very big difference. The z sound, watch out for that one as well. He's really improving nicely. A p versus a b. Okay, they're very different. P, b. Sometimes instead of doing a p, Tan will also do a f. So watch out for that. So instead of saying it's up there, he might say it's uff there. So again, just reminding him what a p is. That would be great. As I said, the ch and the j, particularly the j. He needs to bring his mouth forward, j. Sometimes he thinks he's got his mouth forward, but he doesn't. So I think if you've got this as a reference, what I'd love you to do is just have conversations with him, as I said, get him to do some reading aloud of his sermons. That would be fabulous. Get him to go through a lot of words that he says every day, like Lord and God and prayer, okay? And please listen out for these different things and just prompt him. If he makes a mistake, just say to him, do you want to try that one again? Watch out for your p, or watch out for your sh, okay? So if you're just prompting him, that would be fantastic. And yes, if you have any questions, try and call me again. I'm so sorry I wasn't able to speak with you before. I'm absolutely flat out with clients at the moment. But feel free to email me. That's often the best way. Or feel free to try and call me and hopefully we can reach each other. Okay, thanks so much, Jerome. I hope that's clear. If it's not clear, feel free to let me know. Thanks, Jerome.